should big RC brands be worried about smaller RC brands like MJX and Rlaarlo? Now, this is something we're going to talk about on this episode. We're up to episode 11 now. I don't know how we've done 11 episodes, but we have. And today the topic is going to be, should these big brands be worried about these smaller brands? You know, these lesser known brands like MJX and Rlaarlo. I mean, these brands are producing some really cool cars. They're innovating and they're giving us more affordable options, when the big brands out there like Traxxas, Armour, Team Associated and all of the others, they're not really keeping up, I would have said. You know, especially when you look at the more affordable options and the performance that you're getting from some of the performance cars. I don't see the big brands keeping up. Now, this is something we need to cover. I'm not going to be doing this one on my own. I have got a special guest coming in shortly who is going to have a chat with us and give us his take on it and his opinion. But I do think companies like MJX and Rlaarlo, who I would say are probably like the budget / affordable market leaders, although some would argue they're no longer affordable because their cars are getting bigger, more powerful and more expensive, but they still have a good selection of more budget friendly options as well. Are they a growing threat really to companies like Traxxas, Armour and all the other big brands out there? Now, we're going to cover some good points today, and a good friend of mine who also has a YouTube channel, you may have seen him before, he's called Stephen. He puts some really cool videos together. I love watching his introductions. You know, a lot of his intros on his videos are super funny. He's just a great guy, and I definitely think he's going to have some good input when it comes to this topic. So we'll get Stephen in. We'll have a chat to him very briefly, and then we'll start covering some of the points I think we need to talk about, you know, such as pricing, performance, you know, how many different new cars we see and how quickly we see new cars from these RC companies. Also, why you hear a lot of us YouTubers and people who are reviewing these cars, why you're hearing us praising them so much, and, you know, why brands like Rlaarlo and MJX may still be lagging behind. You know, some may say they're still lagging behind the big brands out there. So there's obviously reasons for that, and I understand people have many different viewpoints on this, but we're going to try and cover as much as we can today. Stephen's also going to help me do that because he knows quite a lot about both the brands. He's done some private work with Rlaarlo as well. I think he may have even been to Rlaarlo's factory, so he does know a little bit more of an insider. He's got more of an insider knowledge, you know, when it comes to the brand compared to me. I've never been there. I don't really know them as well as Stephen might know them, so I'm hoping he can kind of give us a little bit more than what I could give you. And then we're going to kind of talk about one of the final points is going to be some considerations that I think big brands need to make to kind of keep up with these, you know, sort of lesser known brands, if you will. I would have said they're quite popular now, so I don't even think by saying lesser known is the right way to describe MJX and Rlaarlo now, because I'm starting to feel that they are becoming, you know, two of the big hitters in the hobby. But I know all the long-term diehard, you know, RC fans out there, they'll still say Chinese crap, Chinese rubbish. You know, it still exists. You know, the brand snobbery still exists, and even though I've proved many times you can get more for your money with a lot of these cars compared to the well-known brands, yeah, people are still into their brand names and can't quite see past that. But anyway, we've got a lot to cover. Let's call Stephen, let's get him in, and we'll make a start.
Hello.
Hello, Stephen. Welcome to the beyondRC podcast.
Thank you for having me, Ricky.
So, really good to have you on. I just did the introduction and I was kind of saying you've done some work with Rlaarlo, and the topic of today is kind of, you know, do the big brands need to be worried? You know, because when you look at some of the stuff that MJX and Rlaarlo are releasing, and they're releasing some very cool cars, should the big brands be worried?
With Rlaarlo and MJX, should the big brands be worried? I think they should definitely watch out for them. I think, yes, especially with these two particular brands. Rlaarlo, we know, are very good with quality for a smaller budget brand. But me, especially being based in Hong Kong, which is, you know, part of China, I don't actually see Rlaarlo as a budget brand anymore.
Yeah.
because locally their pricing strategy is quite aggressive, compared to everything else. So yes, I think bigger brands should definitely look out for Rlaarlo and MJX.
And obviously on your channel, because you've got a channel as well, you've done quite a few reviews of cars from both brands, Rlaarlo, MJX,
Hmm.
plus a whole heap of other brands as well.
Hmm.
Quality wise, I would say they're definitely coming a long way compared to some of the other brands we've kind of reviewed and dealt with in the past. I would say
Hmm.
the MJX and Rlaarlo are probably two of the higher quality sort of, and it's like you just said there, we can't really keep calling them affordable brands anymore, because
Yeah,
they
yeah,
do, some cars are affordable. There's always going to be that affordable end, but when you look at some of their newer cars, like MJX's 1/7 scale rally car, for example, that's a lot more
yeah.
expensive compared to some of the other cars we've seen from them.
It is. I mean, the 7303, which is the MJX rally car, the Citroen one, is expensive compared to the rest of their stuff. But then we shouldn't forget also that it's still kind of a budget end 1/7 scale. I mean, it's much cheaper than anything that's similar.
Well, compare that to an infraction, for example. You're
Yeah, it's
talking almost double the
it's
price.
it's literally half the price of an infraction. But I mean, it's a rally car though. You can't compare it performance wise. But I think both you and me both tested that car, and I really liked it.
Yeah.
I think you did too. I mean, for a price point, it is pretty good, right?
Yeah, well, definitely. And the only thing I couldn't really get my head around was everybody was saying it was quite slow. I think I hit 35 miles per hour, out of the box on 4S, which in the grand scheme of things would be considered fairly slow, if it was just an on-road car, for example. But it's not. It's a rally car. It's built to go off-road, and it does that quite well, I would have said. Would you agree with that? Or?
Oh, yeah. It performed really good. You got 35, which means you're generally slow. I mean, I got 36 miles per hour, so I'm faster than you. But it is slow. But like you said, it's a rally car, and it's all about torque and controllability, the way it slides, the way it handles off road. And I thought for a rally car, it did perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, go on,
speed
sorry,
wise, I
Stephen.
mean, MJX also have the smaller 14 scales, right?
Yeah.
And those are very, very fast, but they don't really control quite as well, do they?
No, because they're lighter and they seem to be a little bit twitchy at times. But look, even when you look at the smaller offerings, you look at the smaller offerings and you look at how much the Hyper-Go is, for example. Compare that to the Grom range from Armour and some of the other mini cars out there. You're not getting performance anywhere near what you're getting from the Hyper-Go. And you're paying, again, you're paying almost half the price. How does that? How can they even justify that, these big brands?
I think it's mostly something to do with strategic, placing of, and also how things are made on the market. Obviously, MJX and Rlaarlo are both based and made in China, using factories in China and budgeted for a market which was originally locally, because all these brands we see in China before we see anywhere else. Obviously, both these brands are tested locally in China before they are shipped off worldwide, right? So China does see these products before anywhere, the rest of the world. So I think price-wise, they're a lot cheaper using Chinese parts, using cheaper parts, cheaper labor, cheaper factories, and also they're not stumped with that kind of high brand kind of what we say marketing. They don't do the marketing that Traxxas and Armour do.
No, but we need to remember, Stephen, we need to remember, and this is what so many people miss, when we do reviews of these Chinese brands and stuff, a lot of people will say, cheap Chinese trash, but what so many people forget is most RC cars are made in China. Even the bigger
all
brands,
of them, yeah.
If not all of them, so
them,
when people are saying Chinese trash and, go and buy a proper RC car, essentially they're all made in the same place, and what you're paying for is the brand.
Yes, exactly. It's all branding. It's all branding. I mean, I know I'm not going to go into it, but a lot of these brands, especially these very expensive, bigger brands, are actually made in the same factories that are making the cheaper, smaller brands. Okay, I know, factories who are making these cheaper brands are also making things for Horizon or whoever. Not Traxxas, obviously. Traxxas is not made in China. We know that. But like I
So
said, price-wise, they're very, very good. They've been innovative because they're giving us more for less money. Going back to MJX and Rlaarlo, I mean, their rally cars already had a gyro, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and some other brands, even cheaper ones, also include a gyro. But if you look at something similar like the Armour Groms,
Yep,
they
no
didn't have a
gyro.
gyro. Yeah, no gyro, and they were brushed as well, originally when they first came out.
And that really made me laugh when they released the original brushed versions, and you had to pay the same price for the brushed version as a a brushless Hyper Go, which performed way better in my opinion. And I remember
Yeah.
when I did some videos of the original Groms when they first came out, and everyone said you're still better off going for the Armour, even though it performed, it did half the speed and it didn't feel as fun. But what people struggled to overcome was the fact that it's not a known brand. Armour's a very well-known brand compared to MJX Rlaarlo. Some old school hobbyists who have been in the hobby for years would say, "Who are they? I don't know who they are." Whereas if you throw a popular brand out there, Traxxas, Armour, Team Associated, chances are people have heard of them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I think what really does it for me is the performance that you're getting for the money.
Yeah, performance. Like I say, they're throwing in high torque servos, metal geared servos, gyros, metal chassis or carbon fiber chassis, even with the Rlaarlo usually give you a choice of the two with every release, right? They give you a metal version and they give you a carbon fiber version.
Yeah, usually there's two. One's a bit cheaper than the other.
Yeah, the carbon fiber version will be more expensive, but it's still cheaper than anything from the bigger brands, right?
I mean, have you reviewed the Omni Terminator?
I did review the Omni Terminator. That was
Right.
my first review for Rlaarlo, yes.
Now let's talk about that, because in my opinion, I think that's one of the best, sort of cars Rlaarlo's ever created. I think that's one of their most popular, one of their best. I still find it a shame that they didn't make it a proper 1/10 scale. And I still find it funny when you see it on the website and it says mini 1/10, and I always think to myself, so it's a 1/12 scale then.
Mini 110 means it's not 110, right? Yeah, but despite the fact it's undersized, it is a very, very good basher. It's very durable. It was fast. I was so impressed with it. I only had the metal version, which is obviously slower than the carbon fiber version, and I gave it hell. I just couldn't do anything with it. I mean, if you watch my channel, I always do a little bit of protection to every single body before I run or review them. I'm not cheating. I do tell people, I do tape up the bodies. And I know a lot of people had the problems with the metal version's body because it's not polycarbonate, right? It was PVC. But my body has lasted till this day. I've never had any problems with my Omni Terminator. And I did give it hell. I mean, I run it at an off-road motorcycle track. I wasn't light with it, and at the end of the day, I just lost one screw. So I ran my similar. Let's go. I'll mention I ran my Armour Kraton at the same track. It didn't last very long. Maybe because the way I drive it, or maybe because I was over aggressive with it. I'm not going to go into what happened with it, but my Kraton does not last as long as my Omni Terminator does, definitely.
No, and I've seen many people say how much those trucks hold up and the abuse that they give them, and they just keep coming back for more, and I really do think it's one of the best trucks we've seen in a long time.
Yeah. And it's not just durable. I mean, the tuning of the truck out of the factory was very, very good. I mean, you cannot fault that suspension setup.
No,
it just soaks
brilliant.
And it's just beautiful to drive, right?
Yeah, no, I fully agree. So we know we're getting decent priced cars. We know we're getting brushless performance out the box. We're getting good top speeds. We're getting 3S capability right out the box as well, because in a lot of the smaller cars from the other brands, some of them are only 2S capable. And then, like you said, you did briefly cover it there, you can get carbon fiber and metal options. Now, this just sounds too good to be true at this price point. How are they doing it? How are they giving us this kind of, these kind of trucks for the price that they're asking for? When if this was a bigger brand, well, I say bigger brand, or more well-known brand, let's say, Team Associated, for example, we would be paying double.
You would be paying double, and we shouldn't forget that both Rlaarlo and MJX are still relatively new on the RC market. I mean, you covered MJX in one of your recent videos, and we know that they were not into RC cars.
They were a drone company.
They were a drone company, right?
Yeah.
And who were Rlaarlo 5 years ago? They were nobody. Just a 4-year-old company. They just celebrated their 4th anniversary, right? So they're still so young. And going back to your original question, bigger companies should definitely be watching these two, especially, with their just announcing, well, MJX already have licensed bodies, and Rlaarlo just announced licensed bodies, right?
I think, and I think this is the game changer for me. I think now they're going down the route of licensed bodies, things are going to get serious now. And I think this is when a lot of these brands out there need to really start watching these guys, because if they can keep releasing good quality cars that perform well, are affordable, and have licensed bodies, I would say they're in serious trouble, because they're ticking every box, Stephen.
Definitely catching up, and they're going large scale too, 1/7 scale. Wow, both companies.
Absolutely. And I was always crying out. You go back a year ago, I was always crying out that they would produce bigger cars, because we see so many mini cars. The mini RC car market is just oversaturated, in my opinion. There are just so many options now. You've got all the brands that are WL Toys, Highboxing, MJX, Rlaarlo. There's just the list is endless when it comes to minis. But when it comes to larger scale stuff, I think there was definitely an opening in the market for them, and I'm so glad they took it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely they took that chance with the larger scale, especially with these two newer companies. I mean, releasing large scale RCs is going to be expensive. I mean, who's going to buy it? But they take that chance. They're taking chances on licensing. They're definitely heading, in the right direction. And they listen, right, Ricky?
Yeah.
Sometimes we give, as reviewers, we give them our opinions. We always give them our opinions, and they do listen.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I can agree with and say. They do listen to feedback. They make changes. Some would argue, should they do a little bit more, quality control to begin with, identify the issues first before relying on YouTubers like us to find the problems. We see with the 10208, the MJX 10th scale, when the version 1 was released, it did have some fairly known issues, and they sent an email out trying to cover things up a little bit, and they could have done that a different way. I feel maybe a little bit more quality control, and they could have worked out what was wrong with it without relying on us as reviewers to find the problems and do the work for them in a way. But look, no company's perfect, Stephen. I'm not going to hold it against them, because the things that they're doing now, make up for their mistakes, because they're producing really cool cars at the moment.
Yeah, I think they are producing cool cars. They are producing licenses, like we say. We're going into quality control. We shouldn't forget that both these companies are still small. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, like I said, Rlaarlo are 4 years old. MJX are still new in RC cars, relatively. So they are still small. I think for quality control, they may be understaffed for it, or they may just be too inexperienced to spot it before the rest of us do. In terms of promotion, they're still relying on reviewers and YouTubers to give them information. So I think being new companies, they still have this. They're still in their infancy, and they're still in their how would you say? They're still in their training pants. They're still in their nappies or diapers, however you want to put it. With things, people like Trexus, Horizon Hobby, they've been in it for decades, right? They should have it nailed by now.
Yeah, well, you'd like to think so, but they don't, unfortunately. And if anything, they're making mistakes still. We're talking about, MJX and Rlaarlo. I don't want to go into Armour, but if you look at their new electronics, for example, the 223S range, that hasn't exactly worked in their favour. So even well-established companies like Armour, who were founded in 2009, they're still making mistakes today. So,
Yeah.
again, I'm not going to hold anything against MJX and Rlaarlo because, like you say, they're a lot smaller. They're doing their best with what they have, and they're still managing to bring really good stuff to the market. So, yeah, they get my approval straight away. Now, we're going to move on,
Yeah.
Stephen, slightly. We're going to move on,
Uh-huh.
and we've already kind of covered that they do listen to community feedback. They listen to reviewers. They give us what we want, all metal drivetrains, gyros, good quality ESCs, carbon fiber. They're ticking all of those boxes for us. How the Hypergo range has expanded over the sort of last 2 years and what it's become today, I just feel is crazy how much progress they've made. But what I do want to talk about a little bit is, what is it that you really love about both of the brands? Why do you love reviewing them? Because I see them on your channel all the time, and you see them on my channel all the time. What is it about both the brands that you just love? What would you say are your main things that you love about both the brands?
I think most of the products coming from both these brands, they're just very drivable. They're very drivable. It doesn't matter if we're looking at a basher or a crawler, because both these companies have both, right? They both have bashers. They both have crawlers. I mean, looking at the crawlers coming from Rlaarlo, first of all, I entered the RC hobby as an RC crawler, and I've kind of moved away from that in the last few years. But I entered the RC hobby as an RC crawler with a Traxxas, and if we look at the crawlers that Rlaarlo have released recently, they are blowing away the competition. They are cheaper, they are bigger, they perform better, and I think it's just the drivability and the amount of performance we can get out of each and every RC product we're getting from these guys. I like to give the crawlers a very, very big challenge. I mean, because I have a lot of very, very high rocky mountains around me.
Mm-hmm.
And I give it some very, very bad terrain, and we're not talking normal terrain. We're talking terrain that I could literally myself off if I slipped, and I would literally down a mountain.
You can't get any more of a real world test than that, really, can you?
No. So the Rlaarlo crawlers definitely did very, very well on those hills. Now, it could be because they're very big as well.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at they are looking at a cheaper price. They're easier to drive. They have all the little, how would you say, the little 2-speed gearboxes, rear wheel drive, front wheel drive, portal axles, big wheels. The aesthetics are good. All the light kits, everything. We're just getting so much about with these products that it's hard not to like them. But I think overall, it's the overall drivability from products from both these companies and many of the other companies that are making these cheaper trucks. They just drive.
I would agree.
Yeah,
absolutely. So
they're definitely fun. The bashers are geared high. They go fast. They do jumps and stunts very, very easily. I wasn't so impressed with the 10208 like you. I pretty much thought it was okay at best.
Did you try the version 2?
I did, and it was still okay at best.
Yeah, it wasn't anything crazy good.
But it wasn't crazily good. But I think they addressed some of the issues with the initial version. They didn't address all the issues, and my body kept coming off literally every landing, and it was very annoying and very tiring for me to review that car.
Yeah, it would seem that they've. I mean, we haven't seen a version 3, so there's a new 12th scale one coming, I believe.
Yeah, there is new, but I believe you won't see a version 3 as well, because the word on the rumor tree out here is I think it's being discontinued. The 10208 could be discontinued.
Yeah.
Nothing official coming from MJX, by the way. I do not.
No, I just don't think it was as popular as maybe they thought it was going to be. And again, if they managed to iron out those issues before releasing it, I think possibly it would have been a little bit more popular than it was. I think releasing that version 1, and obviously it wasn't the best out the box. Then it needed upgrading to the version 2. I think that was off-putting for a lot of people, and I think if a version 3 had been released, I don't think it would have been very popular at all. So they've probably done the right thing by discontinuing that, I would have said.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't sell well, you don't sell it anymore, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you what I do want to talk about, and I want to talk about why brands like, Rlaarlo and MJX, some may say they're still lagging behind bigger brands. What would you say are the main reasons why people would say that? Because you have to. I've heard this, and I've seen it in my comments from people, and you must have had comments from people as well. What would you say are some of the reasons why they're lagging behind the more well-known brands out there?
I think I may have mentioned this earlier. I think it's still down to quality control. Definitely down to quality control. Durability, quality control is down to, I think they're just understaffed. The amount of cars they make and, the amount of product they're pushing, they just cannot have enough staff on hand to deal with looking at every single thing. And the staff they probably do have on the production lines may still be a little bit inexperienced, or the quality control. Whoever's in charge of quality control is just not overlooking everything as much as they should be. But you're talking about a couple of years. I mean, a few years at the most for both these companies.
I mean, yeah, no, I agree. Again, some may say I'm not going to. I don't think this should be the case, but there are people out there who would probably argue, instead of releasing endless new cars every year, focus on quality control. Focus on improving operations first before releasing endless new cars. You have to see both sides of the argument.
Yeah, well, I think they do focus on quality control. I mean, like we said, we did see the 10208, and then we saw a version 2, which means they tried to do something about it. We saw that with the Omni Terminator as well. We knew the Omni Terminator both had version 1s, 2, and 3, right? Which means they've improved something, they've done something about it as well in a very, very short time as well with both those models. So they have listened and they have addressed issues, but I think initial release, they just miss certain things occasionally. Nothing is perfect, but they will overlook things.
I mean, arguably, you could say that about any brand. There's no brand of RC car out there that I would say is perfect. I could find issues with Traxxas cars. The electronics aren't very good. I could find issues with Armour cars. Every brand out there has its issues. So you can't hold it against a brand just because occasionally something slipped through the net on the quality control line and it's turned up and it's not quite the way it should be. You can't always just go on a massive rant and say I'm never buying that product ever again, or I'm never buying anything from that company ever again.
No, you shouldn't strike them off immediately. You should, like always, get in touch with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get in contact, see what they can do about it.
That kind of brings me on to my next point, and I'm glad you've mentioned that, actually, because you say get in touch with them, but again, some people would argue that there is a lack of customer support and warranty issues, because we're talking about a company based in China. How easy is it to get warranty replacements? If a car turns up and there's an ESC issue, how easy would that be to, get a warranty replacement, for example, compared to Horizon or Traxxas, who would be able to deal with that a little bit easier, and locally as well, probably, because again, part support is a massive thing for most people. You can walk into a local hobby store. I mean, here for us in the UK, and yourself because you're also from the UK, but there's very few hobby shops now. We're not fortunate enough to have hobby shops in every state. I'm not sure if in the US they do have a hobby shop in every state, but they probably do because RC is massive over there. But if you've got a Traxxas, you could walk into a hobby store, buy the parts you need and walk out. You can't do that with MJX and Rlaarlo.
Yeah, that you cannot, because none of the hobby stores are stocking their parts, or very few of them. I think there is an authorized dealer for both MJX and Rlaarlo in UK right now, right?
Yeah, Serious RC.
Serious RC, yeah, okay. So they probably stock parts. I can't remember who the dealer for Rlaarlo is over there. But believe it or not, we don't even have MJX or Rlaarlo parts stocked here in Hong Kong. and Hong Kong is relatively close and actually part of China, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I couldn't get parts the same as you guys. I would have to wait too. It's going to be relatively easier than me, obviously. But I think, one is a lot of these hobby shops or companies are not willing to, how would you say, invest on spending money and keeping parts and cars available for something which is new and relatively unheard of still.
Absolutely.
It's not mainstream. It's not mainstream. So you can see them doing that. But if you're buying directly from MJX or Rlaarlo, which a lot of people are, and they have an issue, I think most people contact them relatively easily and they get their issues sorted out relatively quickly. Now, the problem is we did see a lot of people with the opposite experience of that, not being able to get in touch and not getting parts as quickly as they wanted to. And we're going back to the fact that both MJX and Rlaarlo, or any other companies that are not doing quite as well as these two, are still relatively small and probably understaffed. You're talking probably, hundreds or maybe a few hundreds of emails and calls or whatever, however people are getting in touch with them, being addressed by a very, very small handful of people.
Have you been to the Rlaarlo factory, Stephen?
I have been to Rlaarlo several times.
How was it over there?
I haven't been to their factory. Sorry, I haven't been to their factory. I go to their offices.
All right.
And I'm actually due to go there in a couple of days to say bye-bye to everybody, because obviously they're very good friends of mine. I don't treat them any better with my reviews, but yes, they're very good friends. So I'm going there to say bye to them. How is it? It functions as a normal corporate office. It has every single department that you would imagine. It has their marketing department, it has their promotional department, their maintenance department, design department, finance, and everything. It's very normal, and they're very, very, how would you say, they're functioning very, very well. But it's going to be a lot smaller than you guys think. It's a 40-year-old company who are only really breaking out of their shell in the last year since the Omni Terminator or the speedrun car.
Yeah, and when you mention, like, when you put it like that, it kind of feels unfair to compare them against a company like Traxxas, who have been around since 1984, I think.
Yes, it is unfair. I mean, I'm not going to mention how many people in each department, but it's a very, very small ratio compared to the amount of calls they're going to get. And don't forget, they're still throwing out product and promoting at the same time.
Well, they're throwing out a lot more than some of the other big brands out there who have got way more people working for them. They've got a much bigger marketing department, much bigger research department, and yet we're seeing one new release a year.
Yeah.
And, guys like Rlaarlo and MJX are dropping up to 5 to 10 new cars a year.
Yeah, because we keep giving them ideas. And the guys on Facebook are throwing them ideas, we want bigger cars, we want more licensed bodies, we want this, and they're listening.
They're trying to do a lot. That's what we're asking for, but that's it. And again, compared to the other brands out there, they're listening to what we want, they're giving us what we want. But again, going back to the point that we've just raised about them lagging behind other brands, I think a lot of it is based on brand loyalty as well. Some people just can't see past Armour, they can't see past Traxxas, and they're just not willing to give a newer brand a try. But if they did, they'd be pleasantly surprised, just like we have. We've been. Yeah,
of course. If it goes to brand loyalty, no, they're not going to give a new brand, from China who is so young a try. They're not interested. I mean, the Armour fanboy is not going to buy a Traxxas sometimes, or vice versa. The Traxxas fanboy is not going to buy an Armour. I mean, even as an RC reviewer, sometimes it's the same with me. I am a preference of one larger brand to the other. I'm not going to mention which, but on my channel, one of those brands does not appear.
Absolutely. So
yeah. You'll have to do some research to find out which one does not appear.
I'll leave a link to Stephen's channel in the description, so if anyone wants to do that, feel free to head over and have a check his videos out, and of course subscribe to him as well, because he does put together some of the best introductions to his videos that I have ever seen.
Oh
with
yeah,
his French friend.
yeah. French friend will be disappearing very very soon,
He-
unfortunately.
is he staying over there? Is he coming over to the UK? What was his plan?
Oh, he begs me to take him with me, but I feel I'm already married and I have a kid, so I can't deal with one more. Yeah, I'm not.
One kid's enough.
Yeah, I'm leaving him here. But yeah, going back to the question, yes, I think customer services, warranties, part support for both these companies, yes, they're still understaffed and they cannot deal with the amount of queries and the amount of let's say returns that they're getting, which is a good thing. It means people are buying them. People are buying them, which means it gives them scope. They know the products are good, and they will therefore hire more people and grow. And
My concern, yeah, no, absolutely, and I do want to see them grow. I want to see them get big, and I want to see them do really well. But my concern has been recently that they're just taking on too much. And for example, they're releasing the new 1/7 scale Evo and the 1/10 scale Evo, and then there's no doubt going to be other cars coming as well. Before the end of the year, I just worry they're taking on too much, because I know they announced the 1/7 scale Evo, and then they were going to do, or they did the live stream, and I think so many people thought they were going to see a bit of a sneak peek or see some running footage, or at the very least see the car, on the desk in front of Annie, but they didn't actually see anything. And if on my latest video that I did about rally cars, I did kind of mention it as well, and what they said was it's a secret and we'll get more details later on in the year. Now I have been wondering, is that the right kind of market? I don't know what the word is. Is that the right kind of way to put a new product across to a group of RC hobbyists who are waiting to spend their hard-earned cash on their latest car? You're teasing us, but you're giving us very little in return. I don't know if that's the right way of going about it.
They are teasing us. They do. They're a big tease, and I've been teased a lot longer than you guys. In fact, being a little bit more behind the lines. So it's hard, yes. But I think, to be honest, for them, the size they are, it is the right strategy. Also,
yeah, it does get people talking.
Armour and Low C Traxxas do it the opposite way. They will release a very, very blacked out picture, and in a couple of days, you will see some of their listed reviewers suddenly with a new car, and then maybe a couple of weeks, a month after that, it's on the market.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, a lot has happened before that stage. Now, for people like MJX and Rlaarlo, they do it the opposite way. They will tease you a picture when they're in development stage.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what they've done with the Evo. Yeah.
Yeah, especially they've done with the Evo. They did it with what was the one that everyone went crazy about because it took so long to come out? It may have been the Omni Terminator, or was it one of? No, it was the first rally car they did, the XTS F10.
Oh yeah, the F10. Yep.
Was teased for so long, yeah. That even I got a little bit frustrated with it because I was teased even longer. So yeah, they tell you something's in development. They tell you roughly what it is. And they'll feed you information down the line to let you know it's actually happening. So, if you're looking for a good rally car that's going to be much cheaper than something else, please hold on a little bit longer. And then, they'll tease a photo or a very, very quick video a little bit further down the line, and then they'll may not do a live stream, which they've been doing lately. And then maybe a little bit after that, they finally release the product. Okay. So they're not trying to keep us hanging. They're just letting us know it's happening. It's coming. What you've asked for us, especially for these large scales and licensed bodies, they're just letting us know it's happening.
I think people are so used to seeing, like you say, with the other brands out there, I think people are so used to seeing a silhouette photo of a brand new car, and then, like you say, 2-3 days later it hits the market and there's endless videos out there. People are so used to it being done that way that when someone's doing it slightly differently and they're kind of just teasing you a little bit, people don't really like that because they're so used to the other way.
Yeah, they're used to the other way, but I feel they can't afford to do that with their at their size currently. They need to let us know what's happening step by step. Now, don't forget, a new product doesn't happen overnight. You're talking maybe 1 year of work for a new product from start to finish, from design development to final product, and then maybe from V1 to V2. You're talking like a whole year of work. So, we should be lucky we're only being teased a couple of months.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right, let's move on, Stephen. I want to talk about some considerations for big brands. Now, I'm guessing there's not going to be anyone from any big brands watching this podcast or listening to this podcast. There may be, and if they are, then I think this bit is going to be for them. Now, I want to look at some considerations for the big brands, what they should be doing, in our opinion, you and me, obviously RC reviewers doing our job. Now, I would say, I don't think they need to panic because they're well established. They've been around for years. They've got a loyal fan base. All the big brands out there have nothing to worry about. But I don't think they should ignore the rise of companies like MJX and Rlaarlo. I think they should definitely start looking at some better value options, sort of entry level options, mid sort of level options, and maybe giving us more than one new car a year. Maybe look at giving us some more options throughout the year, to keep it fresh, really. When you look at how many new cars we're seeing from MJX and Rlaarlo and some of the other brands out there, and we're getting very little from these big brands, I think they really do need to try and keep things fresh. And then obviously looking at things like community feedback, just have someone or have a team that looks at forums, looks at reviewers' videos, kind of works out what it is we want. Because it seems that yes, MJX and Rlaarlo are listening to us, but why are the big brands not listening to us? Why are they not giving us what we want? But I think most importantly, and I want to come to you, I want to hear your take on this, but I think most importantly, affordability. Because these brands, MJX, Rlaarlo, all the other affordable brands out there, they're giving us affordability and they're giving us the best performance for our money. And I think big brands need to look at that and they need to make changes. What would you make of all of this? Would you agree with me on all of the points I've raised there, or?
Not entirely. I think they have. I think they, like I said at the start, they are definitely looking at MJX and Rlaarlo. They shouldn't be too worried, but they're definitely watching their backs. I think, especially with Armour, they already have. I think they released the 22S systems and the Grom range for a reason. Those are more affordable. They are, a little bit more entry level. And size-wise, with the Groms, they probably looked at these cheap Chinese brands, we keep calling them, making these small, very affordable bashers or very affordable short course trucks, whatever. And they've tried to do the same. They've taken their better-known cars, like the Mojave or like the... I can't name it right now, some of their bashers, they made them smaller, they made them cheaper. And that might be a little, comeback at MJX and Rlaarlo and companies like that. And even Traxxas did that recently with the Minimax, right?
The Minimax, yeah.
Yeah, I keep forgetting the Minimax exists because, I won't say any more than that. But yeah, I think they have tried to make a little bit of a comeback and try to fill that gap that MJX and Rlaarlo are sneaking into, and they're trying to push back. We have these big, very expensive, very, very nice cars. We don't have anything at this entry mid-tier level, and maybe we should. Or maybe they used to, but they faded them out. So maybe we should revisit. So I think they have tried to watch their ass a little bit there,
and hopefully that continues, and they do give some, they do start to produce some more options. But I think for me, one of the reasons why they're worried but not that worried, again, I think going back to parts availability and everything else, I think Traxxas and Armour know that a lot of people will favour parts support and the ability to walk into a local hobby store and walk out with the parts the very same day without having to wait 2 weeks. And I think whilst local hobby stores and the way the hobby scene here in the UK and the US and other places, while the big brands are favoured amongst hobby shops and everything else, I don't think they're going to be too worried. I think they'll probably start worrying more if hobby stores and suppliers and everything in the UK start saying, right, we need to start selling more MJX Rlaarlo stuff, and we need to stock all the parts, and every UK store has to have all the parts, every US store has to have all the parts. When a customer walks into a US store and they see a brushed Armour Grum sitting there, or a brushless MJX sitting there for the same price, and it does double the speed, much better performance, and they say to the hobby store owner, right, I want one of those, what's the parts availability like? Yeah, all good, all the parts are on the shelf over there. The person's going to take that option. And I think whilst I think Traxxas and Armour are protected at the moment because they're not as welcomed by stores and everyone else, but I think if that was to change in the next few years, I think they will definitely be panicking.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if parts availability were available immediately in the stores, they would definitely panic. They'd definitely panic, because it's getting there, though. It is getting there,
and I think it's just always been an issue with some of the Chinese brands. Just most people don't want to wait 2 weeks for parts. And especially here in the UK, that was always a thing. But since Serious RC has been, getting in all the MJX Rlaarlo stuff, and there's parts availability and upgrades available on the shelf, for delivery next day, we've really seen an increase in popularity over here in the UK when it comes to those two brands.
Yeah, definitely. And we see it. We see signs that it's happening, actually. If you look on Facebook, or we look at comments in our videos, sometimes we will see, or especially in Rlaarlo's promotional videos, you will see a comment occasionally, who do we reach out for dealership?
Yes,
I have seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen that comment, a few times on their social medias, which means people are reaching out. Hey, we want to stock your stuff. We want to stock your parts. So it is slowly happening.
I think, again, like you said, they're still relatively new.
Yeah.
They've still got to grow. They've still got to make a strong name for themselves. And once they've done that, I think they'll once they've established themselves fully, they'll definitely be welcomed in by more people than they currently are. Definitely.
I mean, we're talking about the two fastest growing and probably the two best RC, let's say, cheap Chinese RC manufacturers coming out right now. Obviously the top. So they're growing fast. And people are starting to become distributors. So eventually it will probably happen. They will be on the shelves very, very quickly and more.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think we can both agree that the future is looking very bright for both the brands.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we need to kind of conclude this episode. I think we've covered some really good points, and I'm glad you haven't agreed with me throughout the entire thing, and I'm glad you've kind of said, no, I don't agree with that, and this is what I think, and you've had some really good points, and that's exactly why I wanted to get you on this episode, because I knew you'd be the perfect man for the job, Stephen.
Okay, thanks.
To kind of not put me in my place, but to kind of correct me where I needed correcting, because I think my knowledge of both the brands is pretty good. Just like yourself, I've done a lot of the reviews and stuff, but there's always elements of my knowledge that sometimes it helps to have someone else to kind of help me out a little bit. So I really appreciate you coming on and helping me a little bit with this episode, because I think I would have struggled on my own.
No problem. It's been an honor, Ricky.
No, I appreciate it. And I think to conclude then, I would say, MJX and Rlaarlo, I would say they are punching above their weight at the moment. I think if they carry on the way they are, I think they're going to unsettle the big brands out there. They're growing fast. Yeah. They're capturing the attention of RC hobbyists now, and people are starting to see them as a proper brand. They're not known as a cheap Chinese trash brand anymore. They're seen as proper brands now. And I really like that. I really think that's the way it should be going for them, because they deserve all the credit. They're producing good stuff. And I just hope it continues for them. I hope the good luck continues. I hope everything works for them. And we just see some really cool cars like that Evo. I cannot wait to get my hands on the Evo. I was really, really jealous of the Porsche that you tested recently, the Primal one.
Oh, wow. That one looks so good.
I had to mention it.
Yeah, we didn't really want to test it. And then Jon, my French friend, said, let's jump it. And I was really, let's not. Come on. And yeah, we kind of did a jump, and I damaged the body, and it was so heartbreaking. It looks so nice.
It does look fantastic.
It looks so good. I mean, if you see it, you would probably just, and especially if you paid, full price for it, you probably just want to take it, put it on the shelf, and just wipe it down every month.
Yeah, absolutely.
You probably run it, but yeah, I think conclusion-wise, you're absolutely right, Ricky. MJX Rlaarlo are currently punching above their weight, yes, but let's not forget this. There's different types of punching. There's like a full-out power knock you out punch, and there's a jab. If I jab you enough in the nose, it won't knock you out first punch. It's going to slowly wear you down and damage you. So I think that's what MJX and Rlaarlo are doing. They are punching above the weight, but they're taking little digs here and they're getting
it's
there
all well and
slowly.
good until they start punching very hard, and then I would be a little bit worried if I was, Traxxas Armour, low C team associated.
Yeah,
it's when the heavy punches start coming.
They need to definitely watch their backs. We know those heavy punches are coming. They've teased them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring to the table, before the end of the year. We already know there's some good stuff on the way, and I'm just excited to see what else they come out with, really.
I'll throw you one more bone. What's on the rumor mill here over in Hong Kong, over in China, is MJX do have another large scale coming very soon.
Can you give us any more? Is that all you can tell us? Is it ultra secret at the minute?
It will be a licensed body. It's not official. It's rumor. It is rumor coming from other suppliers, dealers, but a large scale coming in from MJX with a licensed body. I think some people will probably take a guess at what it is already.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, when we look at some of the, the licensed cars that are already out there, now you've told me that, I'm kind of thinking it will be a larger version of one of those. And I I'm not going to say it, but I kind of know which one it's going to be, or I think it's going to be. But we'll wait and see. We won't say anything just in case it doesn't happen.
Yeah, we'll wait and see, but just in case we're wrong and then we look like complete plonkers, then let's not say any more about that.
Absolutely. Right then, Stephen. Well, today has been fantastic. This episode has really turned out to be a good one, I feel. I think people will definitely get a lot from this. What I want to know is, when you're coming over to the UK, we'll try and get, some kind of, we'll meet up at some point if we can, because I know you're coming back over here, full time now. You're not going to be going back to Hong Kong. So, and what's going to happen with the channel? You're going to carry on making the videos? What's going on?
Yes, well, I am moving over to moving over from Hong Kong to UK, or moving back to UK, because I am actually British. And in the next couple of weeks, actually, August 7th, I will be landing in UK. What will be happening with the channel, it will continue as much as I can. It will continue because I don't currently have a job in UK, so I can do that at least.
Yeah.
And I have spoken to current, sponsors and suppliers, and they all seem to be pretty much willing to keep sponsoring me and, keep sending stuff my way. So I'll just keep reviewing what I can. I need to find a new French clown. So if anybody's up for that job, then feel free to apply.
If anybody wants to apply again, all the details will be in the description below.
Yeah, you have to be very silly. You have to be, fun to be with, and you need to know how to drive an RC car. The current French guy does not know how to drive an RC car, unfortunately. But yes, I will be in UK, and I will hope to see some of you guys out there.
Yeah, hopefully we can try and get something sorted. It'd be nice to do another collaboration type thing. I think there needs to be more people getting together. We need to be enjoying the hobby together. I'm a firm believer in it's way more fun when you do it with people. Just going out and bashing on your own and stuff like that, it's just no fun. When you've got a group of people doing it, it's way more fun, and it's what the hobby's about. It's about having fun, supporting each other, and a lot of people get so much from the hobby. Just being out in a group, talking to people. I get a lot from that, with the group that I go out with, and they also get a lot from it as well. I just think it's massively important.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, the RC hobby, it doesn't have to be lonely. It can be a group event. Meetups are always great. You learn from each other. You get to see each other's stuff. Which things that you might have not seen before. You get to see each other's modifications. You just learn and grow friendships and brotherhoods or sisterhoods from it. It's brilliant getting together.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, Stephen, again, I want to say a massive thank you, mate, for coming on, because I know you
Thanks,
did go
man.
to bed for a bit and then you got back up again. And what's it, about 5 a.m. over there?
No, it's 4 a.m. in the morning right now.
4 a.m.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I appreciate you doing this for me and coming on and helping me out with this episode. And again, you have brought a lot of knowledge to this, and that's exactly why I wanted you to do it with me. And if you're happy in the future, I'll get you on again.
Yeah, I'm very happy to see you.
No worries. Cheers for coming on. You get some rest.
All right.
Because it's getting late over there now, or early. It would depend on which way you look at it. And I'll catch you again. I will catch you very soon. And if I don't speak to you before you come over, then hopefully I will speak to you soon or get to meet you in person.
Okay. See you, Ricky.
All right, Stephen. Take care. Cheers. Thanks for coming
Bye-bye.
on. Cheers. Bye-bye. So I really do think this was another great episode here on the More Beyond RC podcast, and I do think Stephen raised some really good points. Now I want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you make of this topic in the comment section down below. What do you think of MJX and Rlaarlo? If you were Traxxas, Armour, Team Associated, Losi, you know, all the big brands out there, would you be worried? Let me know in the comment section down below what you make of all of this. Also, don't forget, if you haven't subscribed, be sure to do so and have notifications turned on as well, so that whenever I post a new video or a new podcast episode, you'll be notified. Cheers for listening. See you on the next one. Take care.